Hey, I'm Ava Laura.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Black Leave America podcast, where we highlight holistic wellness, travel, mental health, and self-care through traveling outside of America to reconnect and rediscover who you are. It's time for us to leave any condition that disrupts our peace. Black Women Leave America opens your eyes and explores new ways of living, but more importantly, new ways of being. Because sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself.
Hey. Welcome to Black Women Leave America, the live edition.
Listen, our intro is so good, we wanted to show it twice.
Well, the water's just so beautiful. I need to look at it again. This is Ava Laura, my amazing co-host. And I'm Jessica. And so we're going to just hop on into it. We have been watching Coming from America on Max. And you guys have had some really interesting comments and things to say about this show. Yes. Well, first and foremost, let me just say this, and then I'm going to pass the mic back to Ava Laura because she's the person who usually does our introductions and all the good things. To the folks that created this show, I thank you because it is definitely something that we wanted to see. And like we said during our last broadcasts reviewing the show, that we started this podcast for that reason. We wanted to see our stories being told. Okay. So now I made a comment and I want to call that out that this show must be produced by white folks and that a producer did say, no, in fact, there is Black folks who produced the show. So, my bad. Okay. What I need for you to do, producers, Black folks, okay, if you are producing these types of shows, because I do see some of the characters and storylines, folks of the show out there creating their own content. They're doing an okay job, right? I'm going to leave out the folks that have their own YouTube. They're banging it. They're doing the thing. They're rocking and rolling. I'm not talking about them, right? But how am I supposed to know when I go and do a Google search if you ain't in the Googles? I don't know that. So you might want to do some things around that so that we know that this is produced by people that look like us. Okay, so I just want to make sure.
I know when Jordan Peele is producing something. I know when Tyler Perry is producing something. Their names are everywhere.
They are all up in it, right? And I mean, I'm gonna say this, and I know that he has a negative thing right here now on him, but he still does at least have that a reputation for always being like, I know you don't want to be the P. Diddy of the place, right? Like all in the spaces, right? All in the places. But
all in the episodes.
Right. All in the episodes, all in the marketing, all in the billboards, right? Like, I know you don't want to do it, but it brings to mind what I always tell all of my clients, right? If you say nothing, we know nothing. We don't know you, right? So you can't get mad if people claiming or saying, and you're not saying nothing. Like we don't see nothing from you. We see no content. We see no context. We see no nothing from you, right? So you can't get mad when people don't acknowledge you, when you don't put anything out there for them to acknowledge, right? As far as us knowing that you're behind it. And this person has a roster of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this person's a freaking amazing. Why don't I know about you? Because you're actually somebody I want to follow, right? I want to know how to get in the business, what to do, how you're navigating this, how you got it. So anyway, stop being selfish, put yourself out there and let us know, sis, and stop hiding. That's
what I will say, and thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. As you see, we read your comments and we do respond.
Yes.
So I know people say that, but we actually really do engage because this show is as much for you as it is for us and everybody watching. So your viewership matters to us.
Right.
I think so. What I will say that I just a little bit that I know about producers, just a little bit, right? I am by no means an expert, But just because I have been on reality TV and I've gotten to know producers, one of the things that I have found is that they are like over busy,
Mm,
and they are like on to the next show. Like they finish
yeah.
the show and then they on to the next and on to the next and on to the next, and their hours are crazy. They are not working like a regular 9 to 5 type deal. But with that being said, I do think that what you're saying is important because we actually don't know who's behind the scenes. I would not even know as much as I know if I have not been in the reality TV world. I wouldn't know any of this, right?
Right.
The average person is not going to know. The average person is not going to do a Google search. The average person is not really going to care. But I think it's interesting. And so I wish producers, and I don't know how much they can talk about,
Right.
but I
Right.
wish they would promote themselves in the projects, especially when you're Black. You know what I mean? Like I
That
really
part.
wish they did.
That part.
Because we want to know more. And listen, and I wish you all were like, listen, what do you all want to know about? What shows are you interested in? Like your
Can
presence
we get a focus group going or something? Like seriously, like, and so like you said, they're super busy and all that those good things. So I get it, but it, like I tell a lot of my busy clients, document, right? Just you got interns, you got people around. Hey, record me doing various stuff and put it out there, right? Like obviously you don't want all your business out there. I get that, but hey, document me in this, scenario where I'm just telling people what to do and then cut the camera off, like that kind of stuff. While you may not think it's interesting, we're like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's how that works. Oh my goodness. That's how that comes together. And it also is really easy for you to just create content. Anyway, y'all call me if y'all need help. Anyway, let's get on to the
Right.
episode.
Look, that's what you
Episode 5.
do. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I love it. I love it. So thank you all for commenting. Thank you for watching. And we want to hear back from you. Right.
Yeah.
We made a comment back. We want to hear back from you. We know you're busy, but we do want to hear back. And don't just hit it and quit it. Don't just get in there and leave and don't see what we had to say.
That was the wrong.
Okay, so we're talking about episode 5, which came out last Thursday. So remember, we live streamed on Thursday, so we're like a week behind. So today is episode 6, which is the final episode. We have not watched that yet.
No.
We will be back next Thursday talking about episode 6, answering any questions from all the previous episodes, going through that, right?
Yeah.
So for the most part, it seems like you all are digging the show as well. From the comments, that's what we're seeing. I haven't, we haven't really seen any negative comments on this one, thank God, because we do those. So for the most part, you all are digging it. So episode 5, right? So let's talk about that. So Jessica, what happened in episode 5 that was kind of like noteworthy for you? There were a lot of different dynamics.
Yeah, there were a lot of different dynamics. And I'm trying to see if I can get some of it up here. Since everybody else doing it, we might as well try to pull it in too, right? To see if I can pull in some snippets. But episode 5 was What's in a Name, and this is where we saw the naming ceremony. And like I said, I took notes, and I, of course, I don't have them here next to me, but where the couple that we're thinking about possibly, and was that also the counseling session too? Did they also do a counseling session in that one where they went to the church and got a counseling session?
Oh yes, that was this episode as well.
Yeah, her name's La something. I know, I remember that part. I know. See,
the comedian's wife.
Yeah,
and I'm not dishonoring her by not saying her name. I'm not saying anybody's names because I don't remember them all.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to sit down and do a huge thing and have everybody, but you know what? Max is not sending me a check yet. So what I'll say is that when they went to the counselor, it kind of seemed like they did open up some lines of communication. And I thought that was really nice to see. And I think he also had, as we talked about in the last episode, of him not seeing, he had an epiphany of, oh, that's what she's saying, kind of a thing going on. So what did you think? of that scene.
Yeah, it was really brief, right? So we didn't see a lot out of it. And again, and I know this to be the case, right? Because when I did the counseling, the coaching session for Karen and Ray on Real Housewives of Potomac, you all saw like 2 minutes of it and it was like 2 hours. So it's always interesting to me, like the clips that they show. I didn't really feel like I got a good idea of what happened in that session. Like I wanted more. I didn't know if there was like any kind of resolution. I don't really know. It was for me, I guess it was too brief. To really kind of tell like what was going on, if they made any type of headway or not in their relationship, right? Because they've been talking so much about it, but I don't know if he, there was that epiphany, but then what was the action after? Like, was there any action after? Were there any changes after? So I don't know. um it, I almost felt like they were running the session, and again, this is just from a clip, so I don't know, but I felt more like they were running the session than the counselor or preacher or what have you. I also thought it was interesting that they were going to him as opposed to like a therapist, because here it's a little different, and the
Right.
reason it's different, and I'm talking about this on World Mental Health Day, so
Yay.
happy World Mental Health Day. I did a whole bunch of
Yay.
posts and things about that, so check those out.
Mm.
What's interesting, right, is that we have this whole dynamic, and I don't, I'm about to go left for a minute, where a lot of times churches,
You got to get into her licensure bag.
I listen, I got it. I worked for it, so you're gonna hear it. So, there's a whole thing about, mental health can coexist with spirituality and religion, right? Like I can pray to Jesus and have a therapist, right? And so I'm curious, within this culture, within, in Africa, within I guess it was Christianity, their religion,
Yeah.
how they're practicing, if they have an issue with you going to a therapist, a mental health therapist, versus going to the minister of the church. Because what happens is, a lot of times the ministers, the pastors, they're not necessarily mental health informed. Okay.
Yeah.
They are not therapists. So
Yeah.
they might be talking about from the biblical, the religious, the spiritual, but not from the psychological, the emotional, the mental. Now, that is changing, right? There are some that have both, which is important, but a
Yeah.
lot don't. And so we have to be really careful about that. Like I've worked with a lot of couples who had premarital counseling with their pastor, and so many things did not get addressed. And now they're coming to me years later with all these problems. And I'm like, well, did you have premarital? Well, yeah, we did. Well, did you talk about blah, blah, blah? No, we never discussed that.
Yeah.
We're not trained,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, I think that is important, that if you're going to get counseling, get it from a professional. If you're going to get it from your pastor, make sure that they are informed in mental health practices. And they're not just coming from the biblical angle, because you might just get your feelings hurt when, a lot of things that you really need to address and discuss go unresolved. So
Great
that's
points.
my 2 cents on that.
Great
Um,
points.
So I guess we'll see. Maybe, hopefully, there'll be a follow up in this last episode, kind of what the resolution is for them. Also, I don't know if they have like at the end, they kind of give us an update of like what's going on afterwards, or, at the end kind of thing. Hopefully we'll get that. And I hope there will be a season 2. Obviously, we haven't seen the end of this episode, even if it's a season 2 in terms of following different families, going to, different countries or what have you. I hope it is renewed for season 2. What you looking up, Jessica? Like I see you like concentrating. Okay.
Yeah, I can't keep my face. One thing is I resonated with her so much. She was like, one thing about my face is that if I'm thinking it, you're gonna see it on my face. And I resonated with that so much. I'm like, yep, that's why. Yeah, and I try to like, but it doesn't work. So this is them at the counselor, and or at the pastor who is helping them through their marriage. So everything that Ava Laura said, ditto. I can't even touch what Ava Laura, everything that Ava Laura said. But yeah, so it was interesting to see that part. And the reason why I wanted to pull it up is because I don't want to miss certain parts of it, because I watched like I think 2 or 3 of them back to back. So
we're going to the beach.
Okay, yeah. And this is also them going out, and the interracial couple going to where did they go? They went to like a more like flight, vacation but I'm really hoping that
she takes the trip.
You think you? This was after the safari, right?
I'd like to hear more than anybody.
I can't remember where they went. This was with her mother.
Yeah, with her mother who came
from New York, who's afraid to fly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really nice to see, because you can kind of tell she kind of lit up that her mom was there, and her mom kind of conquered her fear. So I think all of that was great. I would love to know.
They noted a little bit. They didn't go into detail about it. I wish they had gone into a little bit more. Is that she's Jamaican. Yeah. And I guess she's lived in New York for I don't know how many years now, but she's Jamaican, and she was talking about some of the similarities between like Jamaican culture and African culture. I wish they had dived a little bit more into that.
Yeah, because she started to cut up the coconuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was interesting as well. And then the part of the little boy playing soccer, and she was like, just walk up and then play soccer, and it's like, yeah, here's your soccer outfit, and you can play soccer.
I love that. And because I go through that with my girls, particularly, well, I'm gonna say almost all of them, but particularly the one that's 10 and the one that's 14, especially the 14-year-old. She don't want to do nothing. Yeah. All she wants to do is be on her iPad watching YouTube. Like, you ask her what she's doing, she's like, I'm chilling. She could spend her whole life chilling and be happy. So I have to push her into doing things, right? And the same thing here, right? Like, they didn't want to do it. They're looking at them like, oh my God, they're too good. I can't play with them. I don't play soccer, all of this stuff. And she pushed them, and then they had an amazing time. And that's the same thing with her. Whatever I push her into, I'm like, listen, take these boxing classes over here, or go over here and dance, or I want you to do this. And then she always comes back and say, wow, that was so much fun.
Right.
You gotta push these kids outside of their comfort zones, and you have to do it early, right? Because then they become adults who don't want to do things and don't push themselves because they don't have the experience of getting stretched and realizing that, wow, I can do this and I can do that. So I like that scene.
Yeah, and I like the fact that the little boy was like, "Oh, I think I actually do kind of like it here now." Like it was that one thing that turned him around, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I guess it's all right."
Absolutely.
So I thought that was nice.
We have a comment from Samari. I might be saying this wrong. Bliss. She said, I watched all these episodes. Thanks for the recommendation. You're welcome.
Oh,
tell us what was your aha, or what like resonated with you, like your favorite part of anything that you watched.
We have.
Yeah.
Okay, this is when we still listen. What happened to the couple, the marital? Like, we skipped that whole part. Anyway, they're having their own. I showed a little bit of. We didn't watch it. They're having their own marital issues. So this was interesting. We talked a little bit about this last week, right? With Tony and Io, and the kind of back and forth and deciding if they're going to stay in Ghana or if they're going to go back. So apparently she's from Texas, or if they're going to go back home to Texas. Like, the lease is up soon. They got some decisions to make. Like, what we going to do? She wants to go back. He wants to stay.
Yeah. Do you want to watch a piece of this, or you good? Okay.
And I stayed.
Can you hear?
After he passed for you.
Yeah.
Losing my dad was really hard.
Yeah. I know.
I can't lose my mom like that and not be there. It becomes really difficult. I don't want to ask him to give up something that I know he loves. He doesn't want to ask me to give up something that I love. Neither one of us is more important than the other. And so we have to make decisions that honor both of us. I want to tell you that I'm really proud of what you've built here. Because when we came, you didn't know what you were going to do. And so we were just kind of figuring things out.
Hang out with Pop in retirement. Just 2 old guys retire,
Yeah.
And I get to moving, and I look around. It's like, yo, slowly building a nice little empire, to think, okay, I have to give that up. It'll kind of eat me up a little bit.
Okay, I'll stop it there.
I like what she said. This is like the the quintessential thing that all couples go through. It's not in a particular topic, but the compromise. Like, how do we compromise? You want this, I want that. How do we compromise so that both people are honored, and feel seen and heard, and not dismissed, but at the same time, I don't want to give up the things that I love or care about. Yeah, real
It's,
thick.
it's real deep, but if anybody should give up, it should be him. Just saying. We have kids, like, so anyway, but
Jessica said, look, we birth babies. That automatically gives me the edge. Okay.
that gives me the kind of preference. No, I'm kidding, kind of. But we talked about this a little bit before we pressed go live, and it's difficult, right? Because on the one hand, you have a parent who is aging and who may not be around for much longer, right? And she's coming to terms with that. And then on the other hand, you have your husband's happiness or your husband's feeling of protection, really, to a certain extent, the way he explained it, and feeling like he belongs, in a sense of belonging. That's also where, they both were in tears. Like, he's in tears of having to leave, and she's in tears of, if I leave, what that means for us. But then also, I might not have my parent here in a little while. So what that all means, and this part was like very I feel for them so much. It's a difficult decision to make. So yeah, anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. It was really heart-wrenching. Like, oh.
It was heart-wrenching because it's real, right? And if you're married at any point in time, you can relate, right? About something. This just happens to be trying to figure out where they're going to live. Are they going to relocate? Are they going to stay where they are? And you can see both sides, right? He's built something here. He has a thriving business. He's thriving as an individual, as a Black man. He feels safe. He feels protected. He also, it seems like he seems more whole, right? In this environment, as opposed to America, where there's issues of being Black. And then what is he going to do, right? Because his business really is over here, and he can't run it from America. And at the same time, her, like you said, struggling with her mother, how long she's going to be around. Also just the day-to-day, like, I don't want to deal with, shopping. I don't want to deal with things over here. I want more convenience in my life, right? They also talked a lot about the water issues. And they say it was like one time they had no water for 10 days. Let me tell you something. That in and of itself, I would have been gone. I'm sorry, boo-boo. I can't. 10 days? 10 whole days?
Yeah, I was trying to look for the water basin, because he's like, we have to keep the water basin filled, and that's our reserve. And I was like,
system. I said, I can't do that. It is 2024. Okay. One of the advantages of living in 2024 is we have running water and electricity all the time.
Right.
I can't go backwards. That's
so you wouldn't have been able to survive the caveman times and all that.
No.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious.
Absolutely not. So, I get it. That you take the good with the bad and all that there is. So, really what you have to look, like what I tell couples and when I work with couples, a lot of times things are seasonal, right?
Right.
Who is in their bag right now? You know what I mean? Like, who is really doing it? You get behind them, you support them. And then there's going to be a season where there's your time. They're going to be getting behind you and supporting you.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. Like, how can we go for the win as a family?
Right.
So it's not necessarily my individual needs right now, like what I want, your individual needs, but how can we win as a family? And if right now you're winning and you're killing it, I'm going to take the background and I'm going to support you.
Right.
And when I'm killing it, you take the background and you support me. And as long as it's reciprocal, you're good.
Right.
The problem becomes is when I'm always playing the background to support you, and then I have opportunities and I have to come up and you're not supporting me.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. I think I found the part where they kind of said what they're going to do.
I think I know that you're. You told me that I should bury you here, so I kind of feel like I know that you're not leaving.
There you have it. We're staying. Love you.
Let me see, babe.
Well, there's that.
He said, enough. This is home. This is it.
He's like, bury me.
And I found it interesting because I think I had said last week, well, like maybe, they can go back and forth. You know what I mean? Because a lot of women that we've interviewed, right, especially women who have family, back in the States, they go back home, right? And, some are married, some are not. And that's just a part of living abroad, like, because you're American, so you're living abroad, you're going to be coming back to the U.S. because that is home, that is where you're from, that is, usually where your family is. So, why can't they do the back and forth? And I think she said something like they're better together. Like she realized as a couple, they don't function well like that. And I think you have to know that. You have to know that about yourself. You have to know that about, your relationship. But I still say, listen, we need to get moms over here. She need to come visit us over here. I need to have some times that I go see her over there because that's a real valid concern.
Right.
I don't know how old she is. I don't know if they mentioned that, but that's a valid concern is that we don't know how long she's going to be here. And you don't want to look back, with remorse because you didn't spend the time with her that you could have.
Right. I agree. All right. So this is the naming ceremony that happened. And, it was so interesting to see like the transformation in really all the guys and then the transformation in his wife and how she viewed him after the naming ceremony. Right. Even with like his cloth on and his draper, the ceremonial dressings and things that he had on. She was just like, he just looks like I think that kind of gave him a boost and like changed him a bit. I don't know. We'd have to see in the other episodes how it plays out. But I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Him just going through that just made him completely like, I'm a king. I'm where I felt like he maybe didn't have that much of I'll use the word confidence.
Well, this is not an affirming place, okay? America is not affirming. They are not valuing you unless you on top, unless what you can do for me. So most individuals here, regardless of how confident you are, like that's some inner work.
Facts.
It does not come from being affirmed outside of you. That is inner work. I am confident because I have done the work. Okay, because these people out here are not validating you. They are not trying to help you. They are not, affirming you, helping you to feel better about yourself. They are, if anything, they're knocking you down. So here you are in a situation in community, and I talk so much about community, so I love this. I really believe that so many of us are not healed because we don't have a supportive community. And so I love this community element where it's not just a name, and names are important, especially in Africa. It's so funny. Like I told you, I've dated a lot of African men. And one of the first things is like, well, what does your name mean? There's value in that. There's significance. There's honor in that. But more than the name, I love how they said like this family takes you in and you are now a part of their family. Like, imagine how different things would be here in the U.S. if you have families taking each other in and supporting each other. Because
Instead of trying to kick people out your
family. Oh my God, girl. Our own families are jacked up. Okay. So imagine you have that level of support where I can go here and get a new family. That's going to help me.
Yeah. It's so funny. I am a huge social media person, as we know now. Or if you're new to us, I'm a huge social media person. I'm on social media pretty much every day for a good chunk of the day. I won't say a long time because I can't deal with it. But on TikTok, I'm without fail, at least once a day, I see a post of someone saying, I don't mess with them, or I'm not, when you don't mess with your family no more, when you cut off your da 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 da. And I'm like, I get it.
Different, boy.
I get it, but once you are alone and you gonna figure out real quick who there for you. And you know what I'm saying? And so it's like you said, community. It's very it's an interesting point to be looking at the fact that like you said, in America, that statue or that thought is get away. Everybody, you're not on my level, or I'm not, and here it's like, no, we all are welcome, and we all are, and new families coming in from a different country. You were taken from they still look at it as you were taken from our continent, even though you physically weren't, right? You are connected to us through lineage, through heritage, through ancestry, right? So it's like, dang, that's so deep. It's so dope, right? And the naming ceremony, he was like, I'm no longer that name. And now I'm, so it was so cool. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I love it.
I love it. I mean, healing comes in many different forms. And, on this World Mental Health Day, I talked about, I talked about my story. If you follow me online, I posted it up if you're on my mailing list. But I really talked about the need for holistic mental health. That traditional mental health is not going to cut it. It is not enough. We are multidimensional beings, and therefore we have to honor our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our soul, our social components, financial, all these different aspects of us. We can't just deal with the mental. Right. And so this is healing, right? Being a part of community, honoring them in a social standpoint, giving them a name, giving them something to be proud of, right? Something to live up to. This is also a part of the healing process. And nobody's healing process looks the same, so I love this. Like I can dig it. So I look forward to seeing kind of like what happens from here, how he really kind of steps into that, what that looks like. But it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So I just want to end it with their final garments, because like I said, she had made some comments about his. See how she's looking.
Yeah. She's like, okay, all right, husband. All right.
Very nice, guys.
That name they gave me back in that country, don't call me that no more. Call me TJ, 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 TJ. Hey, TJ Mesa.
When Gerald
do we want to hear?
Came out, Gerald was clean, and I was quite impressed. Look at you guys. He was wrapped. He walked with his shoulders broad, and I'm sure he felt like a king. And that's what he looked like as he stepped.
My sons were shown today that if dad is out of town, you got an uncle, another uncle, an auntie, a cousin, a sister, family member. This place will raise you.
For us, walking out of the old and into the new, into a new family, into the embrace of tradition and culture. It was just a beautiful thing.
So I love that. I absolutely love it. All right. Okay, so this is mom flying in. We talked a little bit about that. And she had put a little crown on her head, and her mom you know, it seemed like she was
She overcame her fear of flying. I'm like, what is that about? Listen, you got a daughter on a whole nother continent. Okay, we got to get it together. So I'm glad that she did what she had to do so she could fly and see her family.
Yeah, it was so cute. It was so cute. Oh, and I think this is when she went out. And she's kind of exploring. And yeah, no, I think that was.
They were also talking about too, like possibly extending. He got an extension, right?
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
he could stay for like another 2 years or something like that, and how they were going to navigate that with their family if they decided to stay longer. You know, when they were going to have that conversation. So that was interesting as well. You know, like how do you navigate those things? Like when you're so far away from your family and you're thriving and you're doing well and you want to stay, and you know your family misses you.
Right. So I think the part that I took out of this was I don't see nothing about the nonprofit. I don't know if she's still there or not. Maybe we'll find out in the next episode.
Okay, that was one episode.
I kind of felt like she was like, yeah, no. But anyway, so yeah, we'll see how these things play out. But that's it for episode 5. I think, yeah, that's it for episode 5.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to episode 6. How are they going to wrap this up? What's going to be the focal point? Yeah, and where do we go from here? You know, I'm always like, what's the follow up? Is there a reunion? Is there something like I want to know what you're doing afterwards? Because it's almost like now, and I know this is a lot of times with the dating shows, but it's almost like it doesn't even matter what happens on the show. Like once the show is over, it's a whole different reality,
right?
So I'm always curious, like what happens after the show. Now here is a little different, right? So I'm thinking it's closer to the truth of things, right? So it's not so far apart. So once the cameras leave, they're still going to be doing, you know, some of the same things.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Like you said, the individual stories don't seem like they even like did a meetup or anything like that to meet each other. So I don't know if there'll be like a reunion type thing. I don't see
probably
that.
not, but I hope there's some type of follow-up.
Yeah, some type of follow-up for sure. All right. So yeah, you guys go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know if you've watched the show, what your thoughts were about it, if you've watched episode 5. Any of your like viewpoints from the naming ceremony, like the whole thing that Ava Laura talked about. Like she said, today is World Mental Health Week. Day.
World Mental Health Day.
I should know that, but anyway, World Mental Health Day, and as much as I do in mental health space, but you know these things sneak up on you. Yeah, like is it October already?
And tomorrow is Black Girl Off Day. If you haven't heard of that, I hadn't heard of it either, but I'm excited. Take the day off. Practice some self-care. I know a lot of folks are like, I'm still working, but find a way to practice some self-care and honor yourself as an amazing Black woman, needing your time and space and, you know, whatever you got to do.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Black Women Leave America. Make sure you go ahead and like the video. Just helps us with the algorithm. I need to make sure we say that in the beginning or towards the middle. But anyway, and leave us your feedback on this episode 5, Coming from America on Max. Have you watched it? Are you going to watch it? Has this show or has this channel, I should say, influenced you to watch the show? We definitely want to hear from you.
Or leave, right? Have you watched it and say, I'm going to Ghana?
Right. I watched all these episodes. Thanks for the recommendation. So awesome. I'm glad she was able to find the show through the channel. And yeah, let's definitely support the show and watch, and let's hopefully get the ratings up so we have a season 2.
You know.
All right. See you all in the next episode. Peace.